In this video, I'm going to show you how to decorate this simple Christmas cake. Hi, it's Karolyn. If you want to learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes, then I would love for you to join me by hitting subscribe and the bell. So today I'm doing a very simple Christmas themed design, and the lady gave me a picture of a cake and she wanted the same design, and I usually don't like to copy cakes exactly because I like to add my flair to it, but she wanted it as close to the picture as possible, and I told her I would do that. Now, I couldn't find a watermark on this picture. Watermark your pictures, people, so that way we can give the correct person credit if we end up doing their designs. So I am starting with my cakes already baked, filled, and iced, and they are in the refrigerator. I ice my cakes with American buttercream, and I refrigerate all of my cakes. I have videos talking about how I bake cakes, how I fill them, how I ice them, refrigerate them. All of those are going to be linked in the description for you. And I just want to say welcome to all my new subscribers, and to everyone who's been here for so long supporting me, thank you so much. I'm still having so much fun doing this. So let's get started.
And I'm starting with marshmallow fondant. I have super red fondant, and all of my fondant has Tylose powder mixed in with it. It just makes it easier to work with. So I need a little bit more red, so I'm breaking off a piece of the white and just kneading that together. And I want to make it a little dark, so I don't want it to be super bright red because in the picture it's a little darker. So I'm adding a little more red and just a teeny bit of super black and knead that together. And I get this nice like kind of brick red color. So now I want to roll out white fondant really thin, and the same for the red fondant. And you can see this is about the same thickness. Now I have this strip cutter and I want to cut little white strips. So I like to use a tool to press the fondant down just so it gets a cleaner cut, and then smack it on the countertop and remove the fondant. And I want to straighten it, make sure the lines are straight, and then do that a few times. Then I have these circle cutters. I want to do two different sizes of the ornaments. I'm just marking on here where I'm going to put them. I'm not cutting the whole way down. Get a little bit of water behind one of the strips and put it over one of those circle marks that I made. And then the next one, I just want to make sure that it's parallel to the first one. And you can see I'm using the blade of my X-Acto knife just to make sure it is perfectly straight. And there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just leaving a bigger space in the middle and putting two closer together. So I'm just going to do that on top of all those little circles that I made. And then I want to take my circle cutter and cut them all out and smooth my cuts. And there you go, simple ornaments. Now I have this clay gun with the tiniest circle disc on it, a little bit of shortening in my finger to lube it up, and roll some green fondant into a log, place it in the clay gun, and I just want to squeeze. And sometimes squeezing this out can be quite a workout for your arms. Sometimes there could be a lot of resistance, but hey, you know what? That's how I build my forearms. Look at these guns. Yeah. But anyway, so now I just want to get them into a couple long lines, and I'm going to cut the ends off. And now I have some strips, and you will see what I do with them. Now I want to stack the cake. I got that out of the fridge. I have my little ruler to measure, and I measure the straws and I press them into the bottom tier, get a little buttercream down, and then my hands are clean whenever I touch these cakes. I'm going to stack the top tier on. I have a complete stacking tutorial that will be linked in the description. I'm doweling into the board and then covering that hole with some buttercream. Beautiful. And now let's get that on a turntable. And look, I'm going old school. I'm making a parchment triangle cone. Anybody know how to do this? So you bring the corners up in the middle and then cut a little tab to put down so it doesn't unwind. And I filled it with some icing, and I'm just folding it over and cut the tip off. Super simple. And I want to always clean my cake board, and then I just want to have no seam on this middle tier. So I do have a video. It's one of the first videos I ever did going into detail showing you how I did this. I'll link it below. You can see how far I've kind of come in my videos, but I just use a spatula dipped in hot water just to smooth that all out. And there you go. You don't even need a border when you fill it in with some buttercream. Now I'm getting the ornaments to stick using a little bit of piping gel. I'm doing 3 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And now I want to get these little green lines down. So I'm putting it down first and then getting a little bit of piping gel behind it. And when I stick it to the cake, I do need to kind of maneuver it into the correct position so it's straight. Where it hangs off at the bottom, just cut that off. And do the same thing on the top, making sure it sticks down. And do that for all 5 of them. Perfect. Now I want to make the bows, and I have this little bow mold. If I can't find this exact one, I'll find a similar one and link it below. Get a little bit of shortening in there and then press the green fondant down on there, and I'm dipping my hand into cornstarch so it doesn't stick to the fondant. And then when you peel it away, you have a bow. And I'm going to do that a couple times, and then I just like to take my X-Acto knife and cut in on an angle a little bit and just remove the background that way. I mean, I guess you can cut the fondant away when it's still in the mold. I just find it easier to do it this way. And once all the excess fondant is removed, I smooth my cuts like always. Now, get a little piping gel behind each of the bows and stick them to the cake. Get a little cornstarch down. Now I'm going to make the big bow. So I'm going to roll out, that was a little obscene. I'm going to roll out the red fondant pretty thin. And I have a weird way of making bows. It's just weird, but just trust the process. I cut a flat edge on each side, and then I put the flat edges together. And I have a video showing you how I do this. I'll link it below. Start low, go up in the middle, and then start or end on the other side at the same point where you started. It's a little confusing looking at it quickly, but you might be able to get the gist of it from watching me do this. I'm smoothing my cuts, and then I fold it in half, and I realize it's still a little too long, so I'm just trimming the ends again. And now I want to get a little bit of water on the end, fold it in half, and then go down and up and just fold it in like so. And do the same thing for the other one. Now I want to roll a little bit of a paper towel so I can put it into the bow so the bow holds its shape while it dries. And I'm just going to cut the ends off there so it's going to push together in the middle perfectly. And now I need to cut a little ribbon, and I like to fold the edges over. It just gives a cleaner look, and get a little bit of water behind and stick those edges down. And then I want to get water, that was a little too long, let me trim that. Get water behind the entire thing, and I'm going to stick half of the bow, or get a little water there, stick half of the bow down on the strip, and then the other half, let it meet, wrap that around, and then tuck it behind, and my stupid hand is in the way. Sorry about that. And there you go, my weird way of making bows. And now I want to make the tail, so I have this ribbon cutter. You can make it however wide you want, and just cutting a strip out. And I just want to make the little ribbon ends. Smooth my cuts, and that's a little long, so I just want to cut it. And do the same thing for the other piece, except this time I'm going to stick this one on top and use that as a guide so I can cut it the same way that I cut the other one. And now I just want to stick those, let those dry flat, and let's set that aside. Now I rolled out green fondant really thin. I had these leaf cutters. I thought I had a holly leaf cutter and I couldn't find it, so I had to improvise. So I'm just taking a piping tip and I'm cutting little jagged edges around the entire leaf, and you know what, it made do, a little holly leaf. And then I want to make the little berries as well, so I'm just rolling the red fondant, and I want to vein the leaves, so I have this leaf veiner. I could try to find this one and link it below, and press the leaves against it to make little pretty veins. Now I have an edible image banner here, and I have a full tutorial showing you how I do this, and I will link it below. But I love this little tool. My mom is a teacher, and I stole it from her. I love it. You get straight edges and clean cuts, and I'll find that and link it below. Get a little bit of piping gel behind it, making sure I get over to the edges, and I rolled that out really thin, and I'm going to start at one end and then press it down, making sure I don't get any air bubbles behind it. And then I want to use my pizza cutter and cut an even border the entire way around. And then smooth my cuts. I'm going to set that aside. Now get this out of the fridge, and I have a icing bag with a tip number 10, I believe, and I want to pipe these little icing balls around the entire bottom tier. And you can see all the points that stick up. You have to push in your points, people. So you get a little bit of water, dip it in a paintbrush in water, and I'm using the wet paintbrush to push those points back down. Now this is American Buttercream. You can let it crust a little bit before you do that, but it looks so much better. Now this bow has dried, and I want to find where I want to put it. So I'm centering it, and I want to push it down to create a little bit of a mark so I know where to put it. Get some icing on the bottom, and then put that back down. I'm going to sink it down slightly, and I'm just using my paintbrush to clean up any of the icing that's sticking out. And now that's way too long. That looks stupid. So I need to trim it. So I'm cutting it, and you can still see the corners sticking out. So I'm cutting the corners off, and look, you see how it fits so much better like that? Now I want to do the same thing for the other one. So I'm just lining it on top and cut and get a little icing behind it and stick that to the back of the bow. And when I did it on this side, you can see the icing sticking out just a little bit. So then I take a paintbrush and just get rid of that excess icing. And now I want to place the holly leaves down. So I'm getting a little bit of piping gel behind each one and a little bit of piping gel behind all of the berries. And I want to find where to put the edible image banner, and that looks good. Get a little piping gel behind where it's going to touch the cake. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom with the holly leaves and the berries. And finally, I'm going to get a ribbon around the board, and using my glue stick to get glue around the board, and there's glue on the back of that ribbon, and where it overlaps I like to get a little more glue, press it all the way down so it's secure. And there is the cake.
So there you go. How adorable is this simple Christmas cake design? And I know I always say adorable, but I think they're all adorable. Sometimes less is more, and I love this simple, minimalist looking designs. And this is a design that a beginner can definitely do. The most difficult part of this is doing the bow. And I know I have a weird way of doing bows. It's just the way I do it. It's just what works for me. If you have a different way to do it, feel free to do that. However, I do have videos showing you how I make the bows in more detail, and that will be linked below. But in order to get the bow to stand up, like I said in the beginning, I add Tylose powder to all of my fondant. You must have Tylose powder added in there because that's going to help the fondant set hard, and then if you let it dry overnight, it's going to hold its shape and it's going to be able to stand on its own. So this cake is 5-inch and 7-inch tiers, and it feeds about 25 to 30 people, and I charge $320. So I can't think of anything else. What new techniques did you learn in this video? Let me know in the comments below. And you can keep in touch on socials and check out my website. Everything is listed in the description. And if you want to stick around, you can watch this video next and hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Please like this video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays, guys. I love you. And remember, it's cake. Have fun. Why did I say it like that? It's cake. Have fun. Woohoo! I will see you on the next one. Bye.